Hello, my name is Jeffrey Mann. I'm an analyst with Gartner, and I've been the chair of the Symposium IT Expo in Cape Town for the last couple days. One of the issues that I've been interested in talking about and hearing from clients is the issue of cloud office and how that's being adopted within Africa. When I talk about cloud office suites, really we mean things that are often really kind of based upon email, that's the anchor, but also includes editing tools, commonly seen with Word, PowerPoint, Excel, spreadsheets, presentation tools, but also enterprise file sync and share tools, social, document management, and of those different tools that all together make up the most commonly used kind of things that people expect to have within their business lives. One of the things we've seen around the world is that there is growing acceptance and growing movement towards provisioning these kinds of services from the cloud. Primarily Microsoft Office 365 and Google Apps for Work. And I've been interested to see, particularly in Africa, how that is going to go. I've been coming to this conference for several years now, and even a few years, this really was a few years ago, this was not a topic at all. There was very little interest, a great deal of skepticism around security, latency issues, how appropriate it would be with the infrastructure and bandwidth requirements, penetration of broadband, all those kinds of things. And I've been very interested to see a pretty steep change in the last couple of years, certainly since the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa. That brought a lot more bandwidth, a lot more connectivity to the rest of the world, and that has had a sort of a knock-on effect across many of the attitudes towards using these kinds of products. So I've had a fair amount of interest, had a lot of conversations with customers here who have already done it or are actively considering it, much more than I would have expected to see over the last couple of years. The kinds of reasons why people are looking at this, they're looking to lower costs. They don't have to spend as much money on installing servers. They can redeploy some of their personnel, so they don't have to take care of some of the more mundane types of activities and can concentrate on other areas. They can take advantage of the lower cost facilities. So certainly cost is one of the main drivers, but they're also looking to get the benefits of faster innovation, access to new functionality, kind of built-in things like disaster recovery that they don't have to be providing themselves, also better support for mobility, very important on the continent. So those are some of the reasons why I think companies are really interested in looking at this kind of thing, but there have also been quite a few barriers, quite a few reasons why there's been a fair amount of skepticism. In fact, when I look at skepticism towards cloud deployments, I typically see the highest levels of it in countries like Germany, Switzerland, and South Africa. Those are kind of the top three areas that I see a great deal of skepticism. A lot of it has to do with some latent issues around bandwidth, the assumption that that's going to be a problem, even though it's not nearly the problem that it was a few years ago, but there still are some assumptions that it's going to be expensive and it's going to be a problem. Also many concerns around privacy, the protection of personal information. The POPI Act in South Africa has raised a lot of awareness of data sovereignty, where data is stored, what are the responsibilities of organizations for their own data and the data they maintain about users, and just general security. Whether it's concerns about spies from other countries that are tapping into the information, and just about how trustworthy is it to be storing information up there. So while a couple of years ago those were like insurmountable problems, leading people to not even consider it, now it's become one of the issues that has to be faced. They haven't gone away, certainly are, and they shouldn't go away. They definitely are concerns, but they become one of the concerns really to be addressed. So I think that's leading towards a much level higher of interest, a much level higher of adoption. I've talked with several customers here in Cape Town who have already done it or actively considering it. Also customers in Nigeria, Botswana. Those are just some of the ones that I happen to have spoken to. So I think when we look toward the future of what it's going to be meaning later on, I definitely see that this is going to be a continuing trend. I don't really see this going away. I think the commitment of the vendors towards the cloud, obviously with Google, which is 100% cloud, and Microsoft, which is putting a great deal of effort into convincing customers that they need to be moving their payloads onto the cloud, and the benefits that are being provided, and as well as it is suited in many ways to some specific African environments. It is better suited for mobility, which is very important here. It can be, not always, but it can be also provide a leapfrog effect. You don't have to be installing a local area network. You can go with a simpler Wi-Fi into the overall internet. That can be simpler to provide in rural areas. So it can provide a leapfrog. You can kind of skip the local area network phase and go directly towards more direct kind of connections. Now that's obviously not going to work everywhere. There's still going to be parts, rural areas that are still going to be very difficult to reach. So that certainly is not going to be a solution everywhere. But there are clearly areas where that does provide benefits. So I think the future is definitely going that way, and it's going to continue to provide benefits for several years.